Hey, it's Ryan from the Option Income Advisor, and this is the trade of the day for June 30th, 2021. So our trade of the day today is Boeing. This kind of sticks with our kind of cyclical theme that we've had probably over the last couple of weeks. And, really what it is we're taking advantage of this kind of sell-off that we've seen, I think, with a lot of cyclical stocks. The argument here is that possibly the economy and earnings for these companies may not meet up to expectations, right? I think the expectations are really high. And so we're kind of getting a consolidation, if you will. Not necessarily a huge pullback, but again, they've certainly been on the weaker side of the rotation recently. So, looking at fundamentals, again, this kind of ranks very similar to other cyclical names. So you're going to have, low safety, low value, probably low momentum. And that's because, again, their business model broke down. They're not generating cash flow like they used to. Their earnings are obviously down. The pandemic really affected this business. So you're really looking further out and saying, what's the prospects of this business? Certainly with Boeing, it's really tracking order flow with their planes. I think you're already seeing some of that pick up, and I think that's why you've seen this stock stabilize quite a bit. But from an option standpoint, I think it makes sense. I like the fact that we have had some kind of stabilization. We'll look at the chart here in a minute. I think there's some good near-term support levels that we can look at, right? And it is a very liquid stock. This is a great stock to have in your watch list for just cash secured puts in general. We always want to build that main watch list that we always go back to, right? Because as long as you've got that watch list of stocks that you'd want to own at various prices, you can always go back and certainly find a good option play when you're ready, right? So Boeing's been on our list. The strike zone is 207 to 219 currently. And, we shouldn't have an earnings risk if we can find something shorter, right? So We've talked about this over the last week or so. We're still focused on July options. We tend not to trade too many weeklies. Just for these trades of the day, for simplicity, we're sticking with the monthly options. So there's a couple more days probably this week that we'll do July, and then we'll move over to August as our kind of target month. So let's take a look at the chart. So like I said, Boeing's come up quite a bit from its low. But you can see the huge sell-off here during the pandemic. That was certainly unprecedented, but obviously it makes sense given what their business model is. But you can see this kind of steady flow up. So I kind of you like seeing that from a longer term perspective, and I think that gives you certainly some comfort, when you're looking at puts. You've got these levels here where I think you can feel comfortable, as long as this uptrend stays intact. You can certainly pinpoint some of these areas where you might want to transact, right? And so that's kind of what we're going to look at. So get rid of that. So if we kind of scroll down and just look at a shorter term, right? So this is just since February, so last few months. I mean, you can see that last kind of level that we saw on the chart there is right around this 220 level. So I'll be looking at options, around this kind of 220 level to see, if can we find a put there that makes sense, right? And that's just above our strike zone. I think our strike zone was 219. So that again that's close enough. Certainly on a stock that's $220 a share. So you can see it has pulled back just a little bit. It's off. It was at 255. Just at the beginning of the month here. So over the last month, it's come down about $20. And so this is kind of the level we're looking at, right? Does it hold this support? And if it does, then I think that's probably a good area, or at least betting on the stock holding that support. So we're just looking at risk reward here. You're trying to find areas that make sense, and so that's what we're going to do with the cash secured put. So let's look at the put table. And again, we're gonna focus on. You can see we only have 17 days left on the July options, so that's where we're gonna focus our attention. So let me highlight a few here. And remember, our base strategy is kind of that 1% level, and then our conservative is a little less than that, and our aggressive, we're upwards kind of in that 2 to 3% if we can get it. And so when we're looking at, again, we got 17 days, so we're really talking about a half a month here. And so when we're looking on an average monthly basis, sorry, I got rid of that. We're looking on an average monthly basis, just to make it apples to apples. I always look on an average monthly basis because anytime we're putting money to work, we want to make sure that every time we put money to work, we're at least getting an average monthly yield of X, right? Based on the portfolio that you're trying to build. And so the base portfolio, again, is looking at the risk reward of about 1%, and then an appropriate margin of safety. We also look at delta levels for each for each option, and so, and like I said, 219 is about the top end of our strike zone. So you've got the 217 is in there, and again, on an average monthly basis, here we are at 1%. This one's in the strike zone. On a actual yield basis, right, you can see, and this is what I was talking about. So it's only a half a month. We're making 0.6% or 0.5% in a half a month. So that gives us the average monthly yield of about 1%. So that one makes me feel pretty good. You've got the 13 delta, but remember I showed you that chart, right? That chart, and this is where I'll go above for the base strategy. This is where I'll go above the strike zone slightly if I feel like there's some support and resistance level there. So this one gives us 1.2% and pretty similar margin of safety, so not too much different, and a 16 delta. So still a delta under 20. I've got a 1.2%. I like that, and no earnings risk, which is key. And we're just slightly above the strike zone. So I actually like that 220 again. I think that 220 level should hold, and so that's kind of what my thesis is built on for this particular trade, that 220 level will hold in the short term. Again, we're only looking out a couple weeks, so we don't need it to hold for too long, but we're looking again over our time frame. So I think that's a pretty good trade for that level. And then for conservative, if we drop down, obviously everything down below there is in the strike zone, and so I'm looking at these trades here. The 210 to the 215. So something kind of in that range. Again, it's kind of preference at that point, where you're kind of going to go. But, anything of a delta around 10 is very appropriate, probably on the low end of even what you'd look for in a conservative strategy. So I would say, again, because I like that 220 level, I'm gonna go with this 215 for the conservative. Again, it gives us 8.5%, or almost 9% margin of safety. Delta right around 11, which is good. And then for the aggressive, I think just given where we are in the market, I think we probably will see a little more volatility over the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with. And what I'm looking at here is 3.5% enough? This stock can move 3.5% a day, and so ideally, if I can get at least 5% margin of safety and still get my yield for the aggressive side, that's probably what I'd be looking for. This is a 24 delta versus a 29, so they're all kind of in that range. I'm looking for under 30 for the aggressive side, but what would make me choose the 225 over the 227 again would just be the fact that I want at least a little bit more margin of safety than what this one's providing, and so I would choose this one. Again, it's preference. You'd be probably okay with this 227 and a half, but again, that's just my preference. So that's our trade of the day for Boeing. Again, the aggressive, base, and conservative plays. Watch that 220 level. I like it. And in the comments here, it'd be great if you could, obviously like and subscribe. That helps us out a lot. But get the comments going. I mean, let's make this a little bit more interactive. Tell me if you're if you're in this stock. Let's talk about it. Tell me where you're at. Maybe I can suggest some covered calls for you if you're in the stock, because this stock makes a great covered call play if you currently own it. Again, it's very active on the option side, so it could always make a good covered call play as well. So let me know in the comments if you own the stock, and let's talk about it. Take care.